thank you for being with us this morning. First and foremost, I'm sure you're all aware by now, the Democrats, led by Cedric Richmond, carried the day yesterday against the Republicans. We think this is foreshadowing things that are going to come in the future. When we had a caucus in which we heard from the leadership participating with the president, our caucus focused on the continued support for our president and the fact that he has been the leader at the table, continuing to want to meet, continuing to want to work out a solution. This caucus stands behind him because we know that in those meetings, he's out there protecting the core values of not only this caucus, but of the American people, especially as it relates to Medicare and Social Security and Medicaid, which have been important to our caucus. We continue to encourage our leadership to be there and seek the best possible deal in the fairest American way. Failing that, our caucus believes that there should be, in lieu of the events that are taking place and unfolding economically around us, a clean vote on the debt ceiling, but continue to stay and work on what this caucus believes is the most fundamental thing facing America, and that's job creations. We have not seen a single piece of legislation from our opponents on the other side as it relates to jobs. We're focused on innovation and making it in America, and that's what we will continue to support. And with that, let me turn it over to our Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me give a shout out to a different team. In a few short days, the women's soccer team for our country will once again make us very proud. Win or lose, what they have proven is that we are moving forward and we're doing this together. Here in Washington, D.C., we could take a few lessons from the women's soccer team because win or lose, we do this together as a team. Democrats continue to stay at the negotiating table. We are convinced that the president is trying to do the right thing by getting a long-term solution, and we should do this as a team, not as Republicans and not as Democrats. This is about doing it together. And so if we're going to do this together, it's got to be a balanced approach, and the president has made that very clear. So we're ready to work together with our teammates, the Republicans, to get this done for the American people, both in terms of not defaulting on our debt, but also making sure we get our fiscal house in order. And with that, let me turn it over to the leader, Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Becerra, to both of my colleagues, the chairman and the distinguished vice chairman of the caucus. Yes, teamwork pays off. It did last night for the Democrats in the baseball game and for the women's soccer team. We're very proud of both of them. I'm very proud of our House Democratic Caucus. I wish that all of you could have heard the knowledge, the perspective, the values that they are bringing over and over again to this discussion, most currently this morning. We stand with the President of the United States in the hope that we could have a grand bargain that takes us well into the future with deficit reduction. I remind you that it was only a week ago that we were hopeful that this could happen in a bipartisan way. Thursday, we left the meeting of last week. We left the meeting with some spirit of cooperation that we could work on a grand bargain for great deficit reduction so that we could move on to job creation. Friday, we were working on that. Saturday, the Republicans walked away from that. And since then, we've been trying to find out if that's still possible, and if not, what is possible. But whatever is possible, it's not possible for us to reduce the deficit and create jobs on the backs of America's working families. So we continue to say to the President, congratulations. We're proud of the work you're doing, and we're glad that it does not reduce benefits for Medicare and Social Security beneficiaries. It doesn't mean we're not open to initiatives that will strengthen those Medicare and Social Security, that will cut cost and to keep them solvent for a longer period of time. But we are not reducing the deficit on the backs and give tax cuts to the wealthy on the backs of our Social Security and Medicare recipients. When I came to the table 2 days ago, I brought with me the priorities expressed to me by a large number of students who came to my office the other day. They said, we know the deficit is not good for our future. We all stand ready to help reduce it. We think everybody should participate in that. We hope you won't diminish the prospects we have for college education. We want you to know how important Medicare and Medicaid are to our families. It enables them to allow us to go to college by taking some of the fear out of health care costs for them. And, of course, if you're young and you're in college or you're newly graduated, jobs are important to you. So don't do anything that impedes the economic growth. Their wisdom is so clear, but what we saw at the table was an attempt by the Republicans to increase the cost to students by over $30 billion without taking 1 red cent of sacrifice from the wealthiest people in our country, from corporations sending jobs overseas, tax subsidies for big oil. So again, our caucus focused on our priorities, which are based on our values. We support our president for the grand bargain. We hope that that can still happen, and we know that it will happen. Whatever happens, we will not be reducing benefits to Medicare and Social Security recipients. With that, I'm pleased to yield to the leader in the charge for Making America in terms of job creation, our distinguished whip, Steny Hoyer.
Thank you very much, Madam Leader.
It's crowded over there.
Time is short. The stakes are very high. And the American people expect us to do what has been referred to by Mr. Becerra. I don't have the faintest idea who on the American women's soccer team is a Republican or a Democrat. They are of diverse races, I'm sure nationalities, and religions. But they are united in an effort to win for America. That's what this Congress and this president need to do. Be united in gaining a win for America. What does that mean? It means, in the first instance, not walking out of the room, not washing their hands and saying, we are going to proceed in a unilateral fashion. We are going to present a bill that we know can't pass the United States Senate and that the President of the United States would not sign. It is too late to continue to play partisan games. We need to come together. That is why the leadership of this party has supported our president in saying that we need a comprehensive response to the debt deficit that confronts us, and that we need to ensure that America does not default on its obligations. Americans do not expect our great country, for the first time in history, to default on its debt. Therefore, I have told Mr. Boehner that our party stands ready to ensure that we do not default on our debts, number one. And I believe that almost every member of our party, if not every member of our party, would vote on a clean extension to make that happen. Then we are also committed to making sure that our economy grows and that we adopt a comprehensive plan that will ensure the creation of those jobs and that we'll make it in America. That we will grow our economy so that we give the jobs to those people who are looking for jobs, need jobs for themselves and their families. This is a serious challenge that confronts us. The President of the United States has been meeting regularly for now 4 days to work with our Republican colleagues to make that happen. America expects that of us. And as we see our soccer team united, let us hope that the Congress of the United States can come together in a bipartisan fashion to confront the growth of our economy, the assurance that America does not default and the addressing of our long-term deficit and debt challenges. Thank you very much. Now I'll yield to Mr. Clyburn, the Assistant Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Whip, Madam Leader, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and Ranking Member Van Hollen. I want to add my voice to those here, not only on behalf of the country and making sure that we do not default. I think there's a thought that I am not aware of where it originated. I first heard it enunciated by then Vice President Hubert Humphrey, when he said that our nation is judged by how well we protect those who are living in the twilight of their years, our seniors, and how we treat those who are in the dawning of their lives, our children. And I think that what Democrats have done in these negotiations is to make sure that as we solidify this country as a nation, that we also protect those men and women who have given so much to bring us to where we are, and make sure that they have some dignity as they live out their lives with the assistance of Medicare, Medicaid, as well as their children and grandchildren, who must have opportunities to have a good life in this great country of ours. That's been the hallmark of our negotiations, and I'm very proud of the fact that we stayed to the table, as we still are, trying to seek resolution of a very important matter, but doing it in such a way that our children and grandchildren will be proud, and we do justice to the legacy of those who brought us to this point. And with that, I'll yield to Ranking Member Van Hollen.
And thank you, Mr. Clyburn, and to my colleagues. Thank you for your leadership. I think in the last several days we've seen some good news and some bad news. The good news is that a wake-up call has been sent to those people who were deluded enough to think that if the United States defaulted on its debt, it would not have very serious consequences for our economy and jobs. Because for a while there were people that could say, oh, Secretary Geithner, he's cooking the books, he's making this stuff up, it's not real. Well, is Standard & Poor's making it up? Is Moody's making it up? Is the U.S. Chamber of Commerce making it up? Defaulting on our debt, not paying America's bills for the first time in its history, would have devastating consequences for the economy. And it is absolutely irresponsible for people to continue to take the position that it's okay for the United States not to pay its bills. The bad news was unfortunately what we just heard from the Republican caucus, because I heard the Speaker say two things that were in conflict. On the one hand, he said he still wants to get a big agreement to try and address the deficit in this country and other issues. That's what we want. That's what the President of the United States wants. But what the Speaker of the House said in the same breath was you can't close loopholes in the corporate loopholes in the tax code, that you can't get rid of the loopholes that reward companies for shipping jobs overseas, that you can't ask the oil and gas companies to no longer take taxpayer subsidies. That's what he said. Every bipartisan group that has looked at this issue, Simpson-Bowles, Domenici-Rivlin, every other group has said you need a balanced approach if you want to get something big done. That's what the President of the United States wants to do. So in the same breath, say you want to get a big comprehensive plan through, and at the same time say your objective is to protect special interest tax loopholes in the tax code and the folks at the very high end of the income scale, is I believe, irresponsible. What is their answer that they're going to bring to the floor of the House? Their plan to end the Medicare guarantee, say to seniors, you no longer participate in Medicare, and you've got to go into the private insurance market where you're going to have higher costs and you're going to have to eat more and more, slash Medicaid. That's their proposal. I'm just going to end with this point. Ronald Reagan was a strong conservative, but Ronald Reagan said that there were important times for compromise for the good of the country. Debt ceiling was raised 17 times when Ronald Reagan was president, and as Alan Simpson, former Senator Simpson, said, that when push came to shove, Reagan agreed 11 times to packages that included revenue for the good of the country, for the good of compromise. And unfortunately, that's what we're not seeing now. Again, on the one hand, let's get a big bargain, and on the other hand, setting conditions that make it impossible, because the number one priority is not reducing the deficit. The number one priority has been protecting these special interests here in Washington. Let's change that.